My son said, "The bank account is in both our names. She'll never know." I called the bank that afternoon, removed his name and transferred $840,000 to a new account. When he went to withdraw money, I was standing in my kitchen arranging flowers in a vase when I heard my son say the words that would shatter everything I thought I knew about him. "The bank account is in both our names. She'll never know." He was in the living room just around the corner, his voice low but clear enough to reach me. My hands froze on the stem of a white lily. My heart stopped. And in that moment, I understood that the child I raised, the man I trusted with my life savings, was planning to rob me blind. I called the bank that afternoon, removed his name, and transferred $840,000 to a new account. When he went to withdraw the money 3 days later, he found nothing but a balance of 17 cents. My name is Diane Patterson. I'm 72 years old, and this is the story of how I learned that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones you gave life to. Let me take you back to the beginning. Because this story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with love. It starts with hope. It starts with all the things we tell ourselves when we're making decisions we think will protect the people we care about. I was married to Thomas Patterson for 43 years. We met at a county fair in Ohio in 1968. He was manning a booth for his father's hardware store, and I was there with my girlfriends, eating cotton candy and pretending we were too sophisticated for the whole thing. Thomas had kind eyes and steady hands, and when he asked me to dinner, I said yes without hesitation. We built a good life together. Not a fancy one, but a solid one. Thomas worked his way up from store clerk to district manager for a regional hardware chain. I taught 3rd grade at Lincoln Elementary for 37 years. We lived in the same house in suburban Cleveland for 4 decades, raised 2 children, and saved every penny we could. Our daughter Jennifer was born first. She was always independent, always driven. She became a nurse, married a good man named Michael, moved to Seattle, and gave us 2 beautiful grandchildren. We don't see them as often as I'd like, but we video chat every Sunday, and she calls me on Wednesdays just to check in. Then there was Kyle. Kyle was our second child, born 3 years after Jennifer. He was a difficult baby, colicky, fussy, never slept through the night, but when he smiled, the whole world lit up. Thomas used to say that Kyle could charm the birds from the trees, and he was right. Our son had charisma, a natural way with people that made everyone want to be around him. But charm, I've learned, can be a dangerous thing when it's not paired with character. Kyle struggled in school, not because he wasn't smart. He was plenty smart when he wanted to be, but because he never saw the point in applying himself. Why study for a test when you could talk the teacher into giving you extra credit? Why work a part-time job when you could borrow money from your parents? Why face consequences when you could smile your way out of them? Thomas and I made excuses for him. That's what parents do, isn't it? We told ourselves he was creative, that he marched to the beat of his own drum, that he just needed time to find his path. We paid for college twice, once when he dropped out after 1.5 years and again 3 years later when he swore he was ready to take it seriously. He dropped out again after 1 semester. He went through jobs like some people go through tissues sales positions mostly. He'd start with enthusiasm, make a good impression, and then slowly inevitably things would fall apart. He'd miss quotas or clash with management or decide the company culture wasn't aligned with his values. There was always a reason, never his fault. When he was 34, he married a woman named Brittany. Pretty girl, sweet, worked as a dental hygienist. We were so hopeful. We thought maybe this would be the thing that settled him, gave him purpose. They had a small wedding. We paid for most of it and moved into an apartment in Lakewood. The marriage lasted 18 months. Brittany left him, and when Jennifer asked her what happened, she said something I've never forgotten. He's never going to grow up. He's 50% little boy and 50% con artist, and I can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Thomas had a stroke 6 years ago, a major one. He survived, but he was never the same. His left side was weak, his speech was slurred, and the sharp, capable man I'd known for over 40 years became someone who needed help buttoning his shirts. I became his caregiver. It was hard, harder than anything I'd ever done, but I never regretted a single moment. He was my Thomas, and I loved him. Kyle came around more during those years. I was grateful for it. He'd sit with his father, watch baseball games with him, help me get him in and out of the car for doctor's appointments. For the first time in years, I felt like we were a family again. I should have known better. Thomas died 2 years ago on a Tuesday morning in September. He went peacefully in his sleep, and I was holding his hand. The grief was crushing, but there was also a strange kind of relief. Relief that he wasn't suffering anymore. Relief that he was at rest. The funeral was beautiful. Kyle gave a eulogy that had people in tears. He talked about his father's integrity, his work ethic, his dedication to family. He said all the right things. After Thomas died, I had to figure out what to do with everything we'd built together. The house was paid off. We had savings, retirement accounts, life insurance. Thomas had been meticulous about planning. All told, there was just over $1 million. Jennifer sat me down one evening about 3 months after the funeral. We were on a video call and she had that serious look she gets when she's worried about something. "Mom," she said, "I think you need to talk to a financial advisor, a real one. Someone who can help you manage everything." "I'm managing fine." I told her, "I know you are, but this is a lot of money, and you need to make sure it's protected for you, for your future." She was right, of course. I made an appointment with a wealth management firm in downtown Cleveland. The advisor, a sharp woman in her 50s named Monica, helped me set up everything properly. Most of the money went into investment accounts and CDs. She recommended keeping a significant cushion in a savings account for emergencies and day-to-day expenses. About $50,000 to start. That's where things got complicated. Kyle was having money troubles again. He was 42 years old, living in a studio apartment, working sporadically as a freelance marketing consultant, which, as far as I could tell, meant he occasionally helped small businesses set up Facebook pages. He'd been behind on rent, his car had been repossessed, and he was drowning in credit card debt. One evening about 4 months after Thomas died, Kyle came over for dinner. I made pot roast, his favorite. We ate and talked, and then over coffee he broke down. "Mom, I don't know what to do," he said, his voice cracking. "I'm in such a deep hole. I've tried everything. I just need a chance to get back on my feet." My heart broke for him. He was my son, my baby boy. And despite everything, despite all the disappointments and broken promises, I wanted to help him. "How much do you need?" I asked. "If I could just pay off my debts and get a reliable car, I could really turn things around. Maybe 30,000. It was a lot of money, but I had it, and he was my son. I gave him the money. I wrote him a check for my savings account, and I made him really promise that this was the last time that he'd use this chance to build something real. He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "You won't regret this, Mom. I swear I'm going to make you proud." 2 months later, he asked for more. 10,000 this time. A business opportunity that had come up. Something about digital marketing and crypto consulting. I should have said no, but I didn't. Then it was 5,000 for moving costs when he got evicted from his apartment. Then 8,000 when his business partner cheated him. Then 12,000 for a certification program that would open doors. Jennifer called me after I'd written the 5th check in 8 months. "Mom, you have to stop," she said, her voice tight with frustration. "He's using you. He's my son. I'm your daughter, and I'm telling you, he's using you. This will never end. He'll take everything you have and still ask for more. It's my money, Jennifer. I can do what I want with it. It's your future, Mom. It's your security. What happens when you need that money and it's gone?" We argued. She was angry. I was defensive, and we hung up without really resolving anything. We didn't speak for 3 weeks after that, but her words stayed with me. Around that same time, Kyle suggested something that seemed reasonable on the surface. "Mom," he said one afternoon when he'd come over to help me clean the gutters. One of the few times he actually followed through on a promise to help with something. "I've been thinking, what if we made your main savings account a joint account just in case of emergency?" "What kind of emergency?" I asked. "Well, you're getting older. What if something happened to you? What if you fell or had a stroke like Dad and you couldn't access your money? If I'm on the account, I could make sure your bills get paid, that you're taken care of." It made a certain kind of sense. I was 70 years old, living alone. What if something did happen? "Jennifer has power of attorney," I said. "Jennifer lives 2,000 meters away." "Mom, I'm here. I'm local. I can be here in 20 minutes if you need me." I hesitated. Something felt off about it, but I couldn't quite articulate what. "Just think about it," he said, smiling that charming smile. "I'm not trying to pressure you. I just want to make sure you're protected." 2 weeks later, I went to the bank and added his name to my main savings account, the one with $840,000 in it, most of what was left of my life with Thomas. I told myself I was being practical. I told myself it was just a precaution. I told myself that despite everything, Kyle was still my son and he wouldn't betray me. I was wrong about that last part. For 3 months, nothing happened. The account sat there untouched except for my occasional withdrawals for living expenses. Kyle didn't mention it. Neither did I. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Thursday in late April. One of those perfect spring days where the sun is warm, the air smells like fresh grass and lilacs, and everything feels peaceful. I'd spent the morning working in my garden, planting tomatoes and peppers, getting my hands dirty in a way that always made me feel connected to something larger than myself. Kyle called around 11 and asked if he could come over that afternoon to use my printer. His was broken, and he had some documents he needed to print for a client meeting. I told him, of course, and he arrived around 1:30. He set himself up in the living room with his laptop while I went to the kitchen to make us lunch. I was putting together sandwiches, turkey and Swiss on rye, the way he liked them. When I heard his phone ring, he answered quickly, his voice casual. Hey man, what's up? I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. The kitchen and living room in my house are separated by just a half wall, and sound carries. I was slicing tomatoes and I was listening the way you listen to background noise. Not really paying attention, just aware. Then I heard him say something that made my hand stop moving. Next week, he said. I'm thinking Wednesday, early like when they first open. Smaller crowd. There was a pause while the person on the other end spoke. No. Trust me. It's fine, Kyle continued. The account is in both our names. She'll never know. My blood went cold. I'm telling you, she doesn't even check her statements. She's old school, man. Everything just sits there. I'll withdraw about 40, maybe 50,000 to start. Don't want to trigger any flags. Then I'll do another withdrawal in a couple weeks and another after that. I set down the knife. My hand was shaking. Dude, she's got over 800,000 in there. Even if she notices eventually, what's she going to do? Call the cops on her own son? It's technically my money too. My name's on the account. He laughed. Actually laughed. Yeah, I know. I'll give her some story about an investment opportunity or whatever. She'll believe it. She always does. The person on the other end said something else. With my half, I'm thinking of going in on that property deal you mentioned. Maybe take a trip. I don't know. Live a little. She doesn't need all that money anyway. She's just going to sit in that house until she dies and leave it to me and Jennifer anyway. I'm just accelerating the timeline. Another pause. Yeah, exactly. You get it. She's my mom. I love her, but she's had her life. Now it's my turn. Anyway, I got to go. She's making me lunch. I'll call you later. He hung up. I stood in my kitchen holding a half-sliced tomato, and I felt like the floor had opened up beneath me. My chest was tight. My eyes were burning. I couldn't breathe. This was my son, my baby, the child I'd carried, birthed, nursed, raised, protected, sacrificed for. The boy who'd had nightmares and crawled into my bed for comfort. The teenager I'd cheered for at baseball games. The man I'd helped and supported and loved unconditionally for 42 years. And he was planning to rob me. Not just rob me. He was planning to systematically drain my life savings while lying to my face. He was going to steal the security Thomas and I had spent 4 decades building. He was going to take my future, my safety net, my ability to take care of myself in my old age, and he was laughing about it. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds. My mind was racing. What should I do? Confront him? Throw him out? Call Jennifer? No. I knew what I needed to do. I took a deep breath, steadied my hands, and finished making the sandwiches. I walked into the living room with a plate in each hand and a smile on my face. Here you go, honey, I said, my voice remarkably steady. Turkey and Swiss, just how you like it. He looked up from his laptop and smiled. That same charming smile that had been getting him out of trouble his entire life. Thanks, Mom. You're the best. We ate lunch together. We talked about nothing. The weather, his latest client, my garden. I asked him about his plans for the week. He told me about a project he was working on, and I nodded and smiled and acted like I didn't want to throw up. When he left an hour later, he hugged me at the door. Love you, Mom, he said. Love you too, I replied. I watched him drive away and then I closed the door, walked to my bedroom and sat on the edge of my bed. I didn't cry. Not yet. There would be time for tears later. Right now, I needed to think clearly. I looked at the clock. It was 3:15. The bank closed at 5. I picked up my phone and called Jennifer. Mom, she answered on the second ring, surprise in her voice. We'd been cordial since our argument, but not exactly warm. Is everything okay? No, I said. It's not. I need to tell you something. I told her everything. The joint account, the phone call, every word I'd overheard. My voice was steady until I got to the part about him laughing and then it cracked. That son of a Jennifer whispered, then louder. Mom, you need to go to the bank right now, today, this afternoon. Remove his name and move that money somewhere he can't access it. What if I'm overreacting? What if I misunderstood? Mom. Her voice was firm. You didn't misunderstand. You know you didn't. And even if you did, which you didn't, do you want to risk it? Do you want to take the chance that he's going to steal almost $1 million from you? She was right. Go to the bank, she said. Do it right now. Call me when it's done. I grabbed my purse, got in my car, and drove to the branch where I'd been banking for over 30 years. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. When I walked in, I asked to speak with the branch manager. Her name was Kathy, a woman in her 50s who'd helped me when Thomas died. She took one look at my face and ushered me into her office. Diane, what's wrong? She asked. I told her everything. And then I said, I need to remove my son's name from my account today, right now. Kathy didn't hesitate. Absolutely. Let's take care of that immediately. It took about 45 minutes. There were forms to fill out, signatures required, verification questions answered. Kathy walked me through each step with patience and kindness. I'm also going to recommend, she said carefully, that you transfer the funds to a completely new account, one that he's never had access to, just to be safe. Can we do that today? We can absolutely do that today. We opened a new savings account, a fresh one, completely separate with only my name on it. Then we transferred every penny from the old account, $843,217, to the new one. The old account, Kathy said, we'll leave it open with a minimal balance. Sometimes it's useful for situations like this. If someone tries to access it, the funds won't be there, but the account will still exist. Does that make sense? It made perfect sense. We left 17 cents in the old account. When we finished, Kathy printed out statements for me. She put them in an envelope and handed them to me with a concerned look. Diane, she said gently, are you safe? Is there anything else we can do? Any other accounts or assets you're worried about? No, I said this was it. This was the only account he had access to. Good. And if you need anything at all, you call me directly. Here's my cell number. She wrote it on her business card. Day or night, okay? I thanked her. I'm not sure I adequately expressed how grateful I was, but I tried. I sat in my car in the bank parking lot for 10 minutes before I could drive. The adrenaline was fading and reality was setting in. I just protected my life savings from my own son, the child I'd raised, the baby I'd rocked to sleep 1,000 times. I called Jennifer from the parking lot. It's done, I told her. Good, Mom. I'm so proud of you. I know this isn't easy. What do I do now? Now you wait and you don't tell him. You don't confront him. You don't give him a heads up. Nothing. You act normal and you wait to see what he does. Jennifer, Mom, listen to me. He showed you exactly who he is. He was planning to steal from you. You don't owe him a warning. You don't owe him an explanation. You protected yourself and that's exactly what you should have done. She was right, but it didn't make it hurt less. I spent the next 6 days in a state of numb anxiety. Kyle texted me twice, once to thank me again for lunch, once to ask if I wanted to have dinner that weekend. I responded normally, casually, like nothing was wrong. Can't do dinner this weekend, honey. I've got book club on Saturday and church on Sunday. Maybe next week. Wednesday morning arrived. According to the conversation I'd overheard, that was the day he'd planned to go to the bank. I didn't sleep Tuesday night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering what would happen. Would he go through with it? Would he call me? Would he show up at my house angry? My phone rang at 9:47 Wednesday morning. It was Kyle. I stared at the screen for 3 rings before I answered. Hi honey, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Mom. His voice was tight, controlled. I need to talk to you about something. Can I come over? Of course. When? Now. I'm in my car. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He hung up before I could respond. I sat on my couch and waited. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might crack a rib. Every minute felt like an hour. When his car pulled into my driveway, I watched through the window. He sat there for a moment before getting out. His movements were stiff, controlled, angry. He didn't knock. He had a key. He let himself in. When he walked into the living room, his face was red. His jaw was clenched. This wasn't my charming son. This was someone else entirely. Want to explain something to me? He said, his voice low and dangerous. Explain what? I kept my voice level. The bank account. My name's been removed. The money's gone. Oh, I said. Yes, I moved it. You moved it. He wasn't asking. You moved $800,000. I did without telling me. That's right. Where did you move it? That's not your concern. His face went from red to purple. Not my concern. That's my money. No, I said quietly. It's my money. It was always my money. Money that your father and I worked our entire lives to save. My name was on that account and I removed it, which I had every legal right to do. He took a step toward me. You had no right. I had every right. My voice got harder. It's my account. My money. I added your name as a precaution, and I removed it for the same reason. What the hell is that supposed to mean? This was it. The moment. It means I know what you were planning, I said. The anger on his face flickered, replaced for just a second with something else. Confusion. Fear. What are you talking about? I was in the kitchen making you lunch. Turkey and Swiss on rye, your favorite. My voice was shaking now, and I heard you on the phone. His face went pale. I heard every word. Kyle. The account is in both our names. She'll never know. 40 or 50,000 to start. 800,000 total. She's old school. She'll believe whatever story I tell her. She's had her life. Now it's my turn. He opened his mouth, closed it. For the first time in his life, my charming son had nothing to say. Were you really going to do it? I asked. And now I was crying. Were you really going to steal from me? Mom, I wasn't. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Make me understand how you were going to rob your own mother. It's not stealing. My name was on the account. Legally, it's as much my money as yours. No. I stood up. I'm 5'3" and he's over 6 feet tall. But in that moment, I felt like I towered over him. No. You know exactly what it is. It's betrayal. It's theft. You were going to take the security your father and I built and spend it on yourself while lying to my face. I needed that money. You didn't need it. You wanted it. There's a difference. I've given you tens of thousands of dollars over the last 2 years. I've bailed you out again and again and again. And it's never enough. It's never going to be enough because you're sitting on almost $1 million. You don't need all that money. You're just going to die and leave it to us anyway. The words hung in the air between us. There it was. The truth, plain and ugly and undeniable. I wasn't his mother. I was a bank account with a pulse, a resource to be exploited, an obstacle between him and the life he thought he deserved. Get out, I said quietly. Mom, get out of my house. You're overreacting. We can talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. You showed me exactly who you are, and I'm done. I'm done making excuses for you. I'm done bailing you out. I'm done sacrificing my security for your convenience. I'm your son. Then act like it, I screamed. Years of frustration and disappointment and broken promises came pouring out. Act like my son. Act like someone who cares about me as a person and not just as a source of money. Act like the man I raised you to be instead of the con artist you've become. The words seemed to hit him physically. He actually stumbled back a step. Get out, I said again. Quieter now. And give me your key. Mom, please, your key now. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out his keychain, and removed the house key. He set it on the coffee table. You're going to regret this, he said, his voice cold. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. He turned and walked out. The door slammed behind him hard enough to rattle the pictures on the wall. I stood in my living room in the house I'd lived in for 40 years, and I collapsed onto the couch. The sobs came. Then, huge, wrenching things that shook my whole body. I cried for the son I thought I had. I cried for the mother I'd tried to be. I cried for 42 years of loving someone who saw me as nothing more than an ATM with a heartbeat. But underneath the grief, there was something else. Something harder and clearer. Relief. I'd protected myself. I'd drawn a line. And for the first time in years, I'd put my own well-being first. Kyle tried calling me 17 times over the next 3 days. I didn't answer. He sent text messages, angry ones, then apologetic ones, then manipulative ones about how I was destroying our relationship and breaking his heart. I didn't respond. Jennifer called every day. She was furious with him, proud of me, and worried about both of us. How are you doing, Mom? She asked on Saturday. I'm okay, I said. And surprisingly, it was true. It hurts, but I'm okay. Good. You did the right thing. Did I? Absolutely. 100% without question. A week after the confrontation, Kyle sent a long email. It was a masterpiece of manipulation. Apologies mixed with justifications, admissions of wrongdoing paired with explanations of how difficult his life had been. Acknowledgments that he'd made mistakes combined with subtle implications that I'd failed him as a mother. I read it once, then I deleted it. I changed my locks. I updated my will to ensure that my assets would be distributed clearly and fairly. 50% to Jennifer, 50% to Kyle, but nothing early, nothing upon demand, and nothing without ironclad legal protections. I called Monica, my financial advisor, and told her everything. She helped me put additional safeguards in place, ensuring that no one could access my accounts or change my beneficiaries without multiple layers of verification. I joined a support group for people dealing with financial abuse from family members. I learned that my story was far from unique. There were dozens of us, mostly older women, mostly victimized by sons or daughters or grandchildren. We shared our experiences, our pain, our strategies for protecting ourselves. It helped not because misery loves company, but because I realized I wasn't alone. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't a bad mother. I was someone who'd been taken advantage of by someone who should have protected me. It's been 9 months now since that day. Kyle and I have had minimal contact. He sent a card on my birthday. Generic, impersonal. I sent a thank you text. That's the extent of our relationship. Jennifer and her family came to visit last month. We spent a wonderful week together. My grandchildren helped me in the garden. We made cookies. We went to the zoo. It was healing. One evening after the kids were in bed, Jennifer and I sat on the back porch with glasses of wine. Do you miss him? She asked quietly. Every day, I admitted, but I don't miss what he was doing to me. Does that make sense? Perfect sense. I keep thinking about when he was little before everything got complicated. He was such a sweet boy. He was. And maybe someday he'll be a decent man. But that's his journey. You can't sacrifice yourself trying to drag him there. She was right. I'm 72 years old. I have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life, to travel if I want to help my grandchildren with college when the time comes. I have my health, my independence, and my dignity. I protected myself. I drew boundaries. I chose my own well-being over someone else's entitlement. And if that makes me a bad mother, then I'll accept that label. Because being a good mother doesn't mean letting yourself be destroyed. It took me 7 decades to learn that lesson, but better late than never. My name is Diane Patterson. I'm a retired teacher, a widow, a mother, and a grandmother. And I'm the woman who heard her son planning to rob her blind and who had the strength to stop him. That phone call changed everything. But it also saved everything. And I don't regret it for one single second.